This is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you today, and today is a real important episode. Oftentimes I get questions, hey John, how do you fertilize? What do you use for fertilizer? Compost tea should be the number one thing you add to enrich your soil to make it more vibrant and full of life so that your plants can flourish. So in this episode, I'm going to be happening to show you how easy it is to brew your own way to a greener thumb today with Boogie Brew, because it truly is a one-stop shop, as we all know. Nonetheless, brewing a compost tea super easy, and let me go ahead and explain the things that you want to use. Number one, we're going to use a standard 5-gallon bucket. This is a free bucket that was recycled from a health food store, and we filled it up with about 5 gallons of purified water. Now, I can't stress that enough. One of the things you need to use is purified water. You want to remove the chlorine and some of the bad stuff in the water. If you keep the chlorine in the water, you try to brew your teas, your compost teas, it's not going to work as good because the chlorine's not going to allow the friendly bacteria to flourish. The chlorine is in the water to sanitize it, so it kills all the bacteria, good and bad, and so we don't want that stuff when we're brewing our own teas. Next thing we're going to need to use is the tea itself. So in this case, I have the Boogie Brew tea. Although you could use other brands and other varieties of prepackaged teas, and I would always encourage you to brew your own tea instead of buying a pre-brewed tea. Pre-brewed teas have incredibly short shelf lives, so it's always best to do it yourself. Nonetheless, if you don't have Boogie Brew, which you can order online, or another compost tea, you can make your own compost tea out of using some compost and worm castings. I'd probably also add some rock dust and some kelp in there, and put that in a nylon or burlap sack and aerate it. So that gets me to the next things we're gonna need. We're gonna need some air pumps. So we just have some standard dual outlet air pumps. This is a 15 to 60 gallon. Now this is for a fish tank. Now they make specialized pumps for doing exactly this that are high volume pumps, and those would be best. But I got these at the dollar store for 99 cents, so that's what we're using today. We're going to actually use 2 of them. So the more airflow, the better. In addition, besides the air pump, you're going to have the air stone. So once again, I got these air stones at the dollar store for 99.999 cents. And we have 2 of these, one for each air pump. Now you wouldn't want to use the dual output on the air pump to feed both stones, because then you might not be getting as much air as you could, and for $1 I'll buy an extra pump. In addition, of course, you're going to need some tubing to run the air into the stones to aerate the water and the compost tea. So it's pretty easy. Let's go ahead and set this up. We're going to go ahead and open the Boogie Brew bag here, and inside our Boogie Brew, each Boogie Brew tea comes all set with your own burlap sack. Now you can use a nylon, paint straining bag or something, but I like the burlap sack because it's a natural material. And from what I've heard, this will compost and break down, but also this may be helpful in releasing more of the beneficial microbes when the tea's brewing. So we're simply going to take our sack, and I'm going to hold this over the water here, and we're going to pour about a cup of the compost in here. Now this is a mixture, so this is basically a off-the-shelf mixture of different things, including biodynamic humus, ultra-free chitinase, worm castings, kelp extract, organic soy, alfalfa, humic acid, rock phosphate, accelerate mineral complex, gypsum, ectomycorrhiza, blackstrap molasses, magnesium sulfate, borate, zinc, magnesium sulfate, iron sulfate, glacial rock dust. So this is truly a one-stop shop. You could go ahead and buy all your separate compost tea components and mix it yourself, or you could buy one that's already pre-mixed just like this. Alright, so we pretty much got about a cup's worth of the compost tea in the burlap sack. We're going to show you how to set all this stuff up, but first I want to introduce Stitch. Stitch is currently my foster dog, and he is available for adoption. He's a nice older Chihuahua. He doesn't do well with kids, but he'd be great for people, older people, or also he's probably all right with dogs and cats as well. So say hello, Stitch. Anyways, back to the program. So you can see here we got our 2 air pumps, our air stones, and we have 2 lengths of hoses. Now, one of the interesting things is that these air pumps, because they are dual outlet, they pump air out both holes. Now, we don't want air coming out both holes. We want to use all the air coming out of one pump to go into one air stone to hopefully maximize the amount of air bubbles being produced. So we got to plug up one of the holes, and it didn't come with any kind of plugs, so we're going to make one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a small section of the air hose that you see we cut off there, and then we also have these little plugs that are put in your drip line. So we're just going to basically put the plug for the drip line into the air tube hose, and then we're going to basically put this on one of the outlets. So we're plugging that up so that all the air is hopefully now forced out of this outlet on the air pump. So this is kind of like a quick and dirty workaround that you got to do sometimes when you don't have the right parts. You got to make do with whatever you got. So I think that'll work pretty good there. And next thing, we're going to go ahead and hook up the air hose. So we just have two hoses, and we're just going to slide that in, make sure it makes a solid seal with no leaks. I mean, this stuff is super simple, super easy. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is hook up the air stone. So one end of the hose got hooked up to the pump. The other end goes into the air stone. Once again, that's super simple, super easy. Just hook it all up like that. There's one. And here's the next one. Here's two. So the next step is you're going to plug these guys in. I have an extension cord here with 3 outlets. Always best to use a GCFI protected outlet because you are dealing with water and electricity. So you don't want to put your pumps anywhere near your water or get them wet. So I have a nice long cord to go in there. So we're going to go ahead and plug in these air pumps into the outlet. And they're both shaking, they're both coming on. It's nice when air pumps have rubber feet. They're a little bit more quiet, and this one looks like it even has some kind of built-in air filter. Next thing is you're going to dunk these in the water to make sure they bubble. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. And you could see instantly as I put it in, you could see the bubbles coming up to the top. Now, that's probably not flowing as much bubbling as I'd like optimally. It'd be better if you got more expensive, even a $5 air stone from a hydroponic shop that would put out a lot more air, and they do have even, more high power bubblers. So we got one bubbler all the way into the bottom of the 5-gallon bucket that's already aerating the water. The next bubbler, instead of putting into the water, we're going to actually put it in with the compost. We're going to pull the drawstrings on this bag and submerge this bag. We're going to get some of the air bubbles out of the bag by squeezing it around a little bit. And we're going to tie the bag off to the handle so it doesn't dunk in too much. And we're just going to let it float in there. And now our compost tea is brewing. Now the main reason for the compost tea is not actually the nutrition, like the actual nutrients in the bag. So like thinking like fertilizers, we're going to add in NPK or whatever. No. Compost tea for me is more about the microbes, bringing in the beneficial mycorrhiza, the beneficial fungus, the beneficial bacteria. Are really the movers and shakers of your soil. They bring your soil alive. They bring in and help escort nutrients into your plant roots so your plants can be healthier. They can fight diseases and other things also in the soil. So it's very important to have your soil teeming with microbes. And actually that's a really good book that I'd recommend if you haven't saw it or heard about it. Teeming with Microbes talks about a whole new way, or actually the natural way of growing food by harnessing the power of nature instead of harnessing the power of science with chemicals like so many people are doing today. Now that I got the compost tea brewing, we're going to let it brew. Now normally compost tea should be brewed for 12 hours to make sure you have nice microbial activity, but they say because the Boogie Brew is such an active compost and compost tea starter, you could brew it for as little as 4 hours and still have good microbial activity to basically enrich your garden with. So after about 4 hours or so, we're going to stop this, and then we're going to basically use the tea to water all the plants in our garden to inoculate them with the beneficial microbes and fungi, which are going to bring the soil alive. So another way besides pouring these on your plants or watering them in, you can also foliar feed your compost teas. Now to do this, I would definitely strain out any particulates in the water, put it in a pump sprayer, and just spray it on, because plants could also absorb things through their leaves. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick episode learning how to make your own compost tea at home. It is very simple with some parts from the dollar store or even a big box store, pumps and air stones to get you started in a 5-gallon bucket, and clean water and a good compost starter, such as the Boogie Brew tea, which is a one-stop shop. Hey, did I say that again? My message overall is to brew your own compost tea, whether it's the Boogie Brew or any other brand out there, or your own homemade compost tea using your own compost and worm castings and other mixtures of things that are going to really enrich your compost tea and then enrich your garden with the best nutrition ever. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com, and remember, keep on growing.